Welcome to Friday, the first day of December 2023. This Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Hot Springs County Travel and Tourism, reminding you that even as temperatures get colder and snow is on the horizon at Thermopolis, you can always find yourself in hot water. Wind conditions on the plains, snow in the mountains. We've been talking over the last few days about these very energetic jet stream winds coming off the North Pacific, and that basically is going to dominate the weather pattern for the next 3 or 4 days. Just basically all this is very strong jet stream winds with a lot of moisture and instability in them just getting shoved into the Pacific Northwest and the Rockies. It's a very simple pattern of strong winds aloft and moisture hitting the terrain. So this will lead to very high winds on the plains, periods of mountain snow. This is the type of mountain snow that gets the big mountains. The bigger the mountain range, the more snow you're going to have. And the mountain ranges that are exposed best to these northwest winds aloft will have the most snow. As you get along and east of the divide and on the east side of the mountains, there will be high wind events. And we're going to have just enough snow shower activity come off the mountains. This will be especially true along the Interstate 80 corridor. That there could be some travel issues this weekend. It goes without saying, the mountain passes won't be any fun either. Now, there's a pretty nice break in the weather coming Tuesday through Thursday next week. A few days where high pressure comes in, the winds go away. We actually have some decent temperatures. It looks pretty good. Then late next week and next weekend, the weather pattern gets more interesting again. There's going to be a storm system in the western United States, but question marks are coming up, as we normally do when we have something that's in the longer term, kind of a different set of scenarios that could come together. But certainly we got to keep a close eye on the weather late next week and next weekend, as there will likely be some weather in the western United States that we're going to have to deal with. A couple more photos coming on in. A nice shot of a sundog coming out of the Laramie Valley here this week. The sundogs showing up with a lot of these mid and high level clouds streaking in from that Pacific moisture, leading to great sunrises and sunsets all across the region. And we're going to have a lot of lenticular clouds coming in this weekend with this pattern change. And speaking of lenticulars, here's some coming out of Colorado. You're just going to see the shape of these clouds with the strong winds causing wave formations in the wind patterns across the Rockies. We wanted to touch base very quickly. We've been talking about the geomatic storm, possible auroras. This is from early this morning. You can see the orange there. Definitely had auroras overnight last night. I know in parts of northern Europe, we did see some photos come in from folks up in North Dakota and parts of Canada. And we are going to be looking at the possibility of auroras again over the next 24 to 48 hours. Problem we've got are clouds. We've got a lot of clouds in the western United States. So while auroras may be out, whether or not you're going to see them, well, this is a prediction for tonight. This is a prediction for around midnight tonight for cloud cover. And those numbers you see is percentage of cloud cover. So lots of hundreds, lots of 90s, lots of high numbers there. So maybe you folks up here in some gaps of the clouds have your opportunities to maybe see it. Satellite imagery this morning shows very well what we've been talking about. There's that storm right here down around the Hawaii area. But up here, you can just see the very strong jet stream winds coming across, and you can see the clouds and the moisture coming in with it, headed right towards the Pacific Northwest coast. So it's just kind of like a fire hose of moisture and energy getting crashed into the Pacific Northwest, and the trajectory is going to be going just like this through the upcoming weekend. There you can see it very well, that strong gradient where those black lines are tightly packed together, showing that pattern that we just showed you in the satellite imagery. All of these areas that are purple and blue and pink are under some type of winter weather advisory or warning for winter weather conditions. So you can see it does line up with those winds aloft coming on in. The brown areas are where we have high wind watches and high wind warnings. So that lines up right along and near and along the Continental Divide area. And you can see the strong jet stream winds. This is for late Saturday night into early Sunday morning. These strong jet stream winds coming into the region and coming in at the right angle to get the mountain ranges. So the forecasted precipitation this map looks just like the ones I've shown you all week. Hitting those mountain ranges, well, a little bit of shower activity will come off the mountains into the plains. I talked about the I-80 corridor in south central and southwestern Wyoming. While this is not going to be a lot of snow, you can get banded snow showers that can be heavier. That could cause some travel problems here. So you'll need to keep that in mind, travelers. And all of the mountain passes of the west will have snow and wind, at least the mountain passes that are opened. And there's your snowfall forecast through Monday. And if we focus in a little bit closer into the Wyoming and Colorado area, eastern Idaho, the Wasatch, Wyoming's western mountains really going to get hit hard. Places like Grand Targhee, the Jackson area, the Yellowstone Plateau, the Wind Rivers. To a lesser extent, the Bighorn Mountains aren't going to get as much, but we'll get some. Wyoming's southern mountains and the mountains of central Colorado. This is what you call a really good storm to build up the snow base at those ski areas. And then nothing changing with our wind forecast. Right along and east of the Continental Divide, we have strong winds all the way from Artesia to areas west of Calgary. So there's a lot of real estate there, and you can see how far those gusty winds will extend out on into the plains. As we get into next week, nice break. Nice area high pressure comes in. So after kind of a rough and tumble weekend of unsettled weather, a large part of next week's weather in the west is going to be quiet, while low pressure heads towards the Great Lakes and New England, where they'll have some winter weather there. But this area of low pressure right here could take a couple of different configurations. As we get into Friday, this is next Friday, so it's a week from today, we have low pressure sliding down the west coast with generally a broad, flat area of high pressure over the rest of the nation. But what happens to the system after it comes into the coast is where we have a couple of different scenarios. So this is for Friday. This is the European model for Sunday. We have this big low that forms from that same low up here. It comes down and intensifies and sits down off the coast of California and becomes what we call a cutoff. It gets cut off from the main jet stream pattern. This is an impressive low. All of that, you see that gradient from the colors there. This is a deep low. This would be a very impressive storm system for Southern California, bringing rain to the west coast. If it gets cut off like this from the main jet stream pattern and the strong jet stream energy that's circulating around it, this would be an upper level low that would eventually move east-northeast and come into the Rockies next weekend, or just after next weekend. Now, that's one scenario from the European model. The Canadian model is somewhat closer to moving in and not so cut off. Then the American model is lining up pretty well. That's the American model, rather. This is the GFS. This is the Canadian model. The Canadian model doesn't cut it off, but brings the trough right on through. So we're going to be dealing to some extent to some type of storm system or front late next week or next weekend and into the early parts of next week. And it looks like it could be a big weather maker, especially if we get this cutoff solution, because these type of storms move slow and can be quite impactful. And give you an example, the Canadian model here, you get the counterclockwise flow around the low, drawing up moisture. You have the clockwise rotation around this high, drawing moisture in out ahead of it. So, and this also would send colder Canadian air south. This is a recipe for a large storm system. However, we're just looking at potential. That's all this is potential. It's a model, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you want to know when the next weather maker is going to be, it's going to be late next week and next weekend. We'll just have to see how things unfold. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.